I grow literally hundreds of plants every year in my small little backyard garden, from peppers to tomatoes to cucumbers, melons, salad greens, flowers, you name it, I've probably grown it. But every spring, I see the exact same viral hack videos coming out telling you what you can do to have the best harvest ever. Meanwhile, they got you throwing eggs and cinnamon in your garden like it's a freaking breakfast buffet. In this video, I'm putting an end to the most common myths I hear every spring, and I'm putting my own plants on the line. So stick around to the end so you can see, did I ruin my entire season just to try to prove a point? Or am I going to help you out with some science-based reality around these silly garden myths? Let's dig in. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Baus. I am a Colorado certified gardener and a lover of all things spicy. What I am not a lover of is misinformation, hacks, and BS on the internet that's just not true. And one thing I hear every spring as a hack to fix your garden and make sure you have great plants or fight blossom end rot is to crush up eggshells and put them in the planting hole or put them in your soil, and they will feed your plants calcium, preventing blossom end rot or any other problem that you might have, and you'll thank me at the end of the season. Look, it's not true. Eggs are delicious, okay? I love eggs. They're shells, we crack them open, we throw them out, or we put them in the compost pile. Why do we do that? Because calcium in an eggshell is not actually in a form that's readily available to a plant. So if you just crush up your eggshells, toss them in the soil, even if you grind them down into a powder and toss them into the soil, the plant can't do anything with that calcium. Yes, there is a lot of calcium locked up in that eggshell, but it needs to be broken down, decomposed, and digested by microbes that you'll find like in a compost pile, in a hot compost pile. And even that can take some time. As a matter of fact, when archaeologists are digging up ancient civilizations and finding their cooking area, they look for the shells of eggs to understand what types of birds those people were eating hundreds or thousands of years ago. Eggshells just don't break down the way you would need them to become readily available as calcium to your plants. So don't do it. Don't waste your time. If you really want to use your eggshells somehow, grind them up as small as you can and add them to your compost. There's a really good chance that you're going to use that compost with that particulate egg in it, and it's not going to actually have broken down and be ready for your plants over the course of like 2 or 3 years sitting in your compost pile. So don't waste your time. Eggshells, feed them to your dog, I don't know, but don't put them in your planting hole. Don't put them in your soil. They're not going to do anything. That's a myth. It's a waste of your time. There's even people that say, oh no, you have to mix it with vinegar and that'll dissolve it and make it. Look, if your plants really need calcium, use a fertilizer that has calcium in it. It's that simple. Don't go overboard. You can actually do a lot of damage to your plants by messing up that calcium balance, which can lock out other nutrients like magnesium. Your eggshells belong either in the trash or in the compost, but they definitely do not belong in your soil. The next one that comes up all the time is cinnamon. People say if you just sprinkle some cinnamon across the top of the soil for your seedlings, you'll prevent damping off, you won't get any fungal issues because it's a powerful antifungal. Look, there is a powerful antifungal agent in cinnamon in a tiny amount. The chemical that everybody's talking about here is cinnamaldehyde. Cinnamaldehyde, I believe is how you pronounce it. It has antifungal properties. I'm not denying that. The science is there. There has been some studies that show a minimal impact if you put a ton of cinnamon on top of your soil, that it will prevent some mold from growing on the top of the soil. But what it really does is make your garden smell kind of like a Cinnabon restaurant. It's kind of nice, right? I've done it before. I've tried it. I believe this one in the past. I put cinnamon all over the place going, I'm not going to get damping off on these seedlings this year. 2 things happened. One, my tent smelled delicious. It was really nice. I'll give it that. It's much better than the soil smell. But 2, I still had some damping off. Because damping off, while it is a fungal problem, it's actually caused by too much moisture and a lack of airflow. So if you want to fight damping off or other fungal issues, control your moisture and control your airflow. Putting cinnamon on there has almost no effect. There's also like hundreds, I think, different species of cinnamon. You don't know exactly what type you're getting from the grocery store, for example. So you might be putting one on that has almost no antifungal capability, which doesn't help you even more. So unless you really just are like, hey, I've got eggshells in my soil, I need to put some cinnamon in there to complete the omelet, which that'd be a weird omelet. Stop wasting your time with cinnamon. It does have some good uses in the garden. And if you're interested in learning about what cinnamon actually might have some value for? Leave a comment below and maybe I'll do a video about the benefits of using some of these ingredients in your garden. But today we're just talking about getting rid of the stupid hacks. Up next, I'm gonna put my own plants to the test on this one because I have literally hundreds of seedlings growing here that I planted about a month ago. They're thriving, they're getting ready to go out in the garden in a few more weeks. And I'm gonna go do something that everybody says you're not supposed to do. I'm always told you should never water or mist your plants in direct sunlight or directly under a hot grow light because it will cause the leaves to burn. To prove to you how sure I am that's not true, let's go to my tent. So here I am spraying all of these plants with a nice mist of water because I'm not scared. Why am I not scared? Well, let's find out. All right, so if this is gonna do some damage, all of these plants are directly under this incredibly powerful grow light that is very warm, very hot. It's directing the light right on the leaves of those plants. If they're gonna get burned, we'll know by the end of this video. So why am I so sure that nothing is gonna happen to my plants? Well, I used to believe this myth too. When I was a relatively new gardener, I was told, like, don't water in the middle of the day, it'll burn your plants. So I didn't. And then I heard people say, well, never apply like insecticidal oils during the middle of the day. That'll burn your plants. And the theory is that the droplets of water on the leaves actually funnel the sunlight in like a lens. You know, you've burned ants with a magnifying glass if you're a terrible human being. Same principle is supposed to happen to your plants. But here's the deal. In the time since I first believed that myth, I've come to learn about a little thing called rain. Yeah, if this was true, every time it rained in the middle of a summer day, every one of my plants would get burned because they end up covered in water droplets, right? And then the sun comes back out from behind its little cloud, get a nice rainbow in the sky, and my garden's fine. But why? We know that water can act as a lens and focus light. But when it's sitting directly on the leaf of your plant, the focal point of that water droplet is actually significantly behind the leaf it's sitting on. So it's not going to focus that light right into the leaf. It's just going to keep absorbing light like it always does and do its photosynthesis and enjoy a little bit of extra moisture on its leaves if you live in a dry climate like I do. I've sprayed my leaves. We'll come back and check those at the end of the video just to prove that nothing happened. It evaporated or it was absorbed through the stoma of the plants and it was fine, right? This is just one of those myths that won't go away. I've seen experienced growers get in, honest to God, like flame wars online over this just in the last month. People left a community because they were so upset with the argument over, does water burn my plants? It doesn't. And we'll prove that at the end of this video, all right? All right, the last thing I really want to dive into today as far as a myth that just won't go away is that you need to put Epsom salts in the planting hole of your plants, especially things like tomatoes or peppers, anything that's fruiting. If you don't put Epsom salts in your planting hole or in your soil to give you that extra boost of magnesium, your plant's gonna suffer. Look, plants need magnesium. That is one of those core elements that they need to grow and be healthy. Magnesium in plants actually has a pretty interesting relationship with calcium. I'm not gonna dive too far into the science there, but adding magnesium when you don't need it can actually mess up your plant's ability to uptake and transport calcium. That's a bad thing. Adding too much calcium, so if you were, I don't know, actually using eggshells and they worked, that could throw off the magnesium balance. Calcium and magnesium have a pretty cool relationship in terms of how they feed your plants. Epsom salt, however, is not just magnesium, so that's one problem you want to be a little bit more aware of. You're putting more than just magnesium into your soil, but do you need it? That's the real question. If you haven't done a soil test, spend the $20, $25, send in a kit, go to your local extension office. If you're in the United States, most states have at least one university that has extensions that will do this for a very low cost, anywhere from like $5 to $25 usually to test your soil. You just take a nice sample out of your soil or multiple samples if you need to and send them in. They do a test and tell you what's there. They'll also tell you if you have any nutrient deficiencies. Typically they won't cover nitrogen because nitrogen moves through soil so darn fast that it's not a stable reading and it's not something you really want them testing. But you'll understand how much phosphorus, how much potassium is in your soil. They will tell you some of these micronutrients and some of the other elements that are in your soil. And if it comes back and says you need magnesium, I would highly recommend doing something like a CalMag treatment rather than just dumping Epsom salts in there because it'll help balance that out a little bit better. But if your soil test comes back and says you've actually got plenty of magnesium in your soil, and then you dump Epsom salts in there, you know what you just did? You actually gave your plants a less good shot of being healthy. You've created a situation that could create an imbalance and an inability for your plant to uptake other nutrients the way that it needs. So leave them alone. Epsom salts are great for like soaking your feet in some warm water and giving a little relief at the end of a long day in the garden, but they're not there to feed your plant. And just in general, look, if you see something on the internet, especially if it's from somebody who's like a really hype creator and they're really all over the place, wow, this is it, that is this. Some of these TikToks and YouTube shorts, they're honestly like cringeworthy to watch. I get a little bit goofy on this channel, but in the end, I'm not trying to like oversell you or make you believe something that's simply not true. I'm trying to help you have a healthy, happy garden and use a little bit of science to make sure that that's clear and understood. Just one other quick tip though, before we check on our plants to see if they've burned. Peat pots and biodegradable pots, cow pots. There's a lot of different names, but like everything from those little pods that they come as a disc and you moisten them and they grow to be tall and you plant your seeds in them and they have this kind of like netting around them, right? It's almost like a nylon stocking or something. And they say, oh, that just biodegrades and you can just plant this directly in the ground. Or those like kind of recycled paper looking pots and like, oh yeah, you can just leave your seedlings right in here and drop it in. You won't disturb their roots and it'll just biodegrade in your soil and be fine. For the love of God, don't put those in your soil. Do not transfer peat pods or those cow pots or any of those, biodegradable pots directly into your soil if you have a plant in there that you actually want to grow. What actually happens in almost every situation, especially those peat pods with the like netting around them, they do not break down fast enough in most soils to actually get out of the way. And so you end up constricting the roots. Sometimes you'll get roots shooting out the bottom. You'll have basically a stranglehold at the most important part of your plant where roots are meeting stem and trying to uptake nutrients and carry them through the rest of your plant systems. Do not do this. The same thing with those biodegradable pots. Unless you have soil that is just so teeming with microbes and perfect conditions, odds are by the time you're transplanting out, roots are starting to touch that. And that's going to take maybe another 2 to 3 months, ideally, to actually break down all the way. And that whole time, it's blocking your root growth and preventing a healthy, happy plant. If you're going to be planting things that you started from seed and you're taking out to your garden or putting in a container, please take the extra 5 seconds, remove any kind of pot or container, make sure that those roots are not circling or root bound. Give them a little tease if you need to so that they're kind of growing outward and not this way or straight down. You want to have a little bit of a flare and then put the plant in. Your plant will thank you, your garden will thank you, and I will thank you by showing you the results of my water spraying experiment. Well, looky here. Everything looks fine. It's actually been about 2 hours since I sprayed these because I had to take a break in the middle of filming. So I can say with confidence, nothing happened. My plants did not get burned. They will not get burned by spraying water on them or watering during the daytime. So there you have it, right? The plants look good. There are other reasons to not water your plants, especially overhead water in the heat of the day during the middle of the summer. But that has more to do with your plant's ability to actually transpire in that kind of temperature than it does about burning the leaves. So stop believing the hype. Get engaged. Do a couple of Google searches if you have to. Ask Gemini. I don't care. Come to my channel. Ask me in the comments. If you've heard a myth or a rumor or a hack and you think that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you want to know for sure, ask the boss. I'll tell you. Gardening is easy until it's not. It only becomes less easy the more you overcomplicate it. So leave the hacks alone. Give your plants light, nutrition, good soil, and water. They'll be happy, you'll be happy, and in the fall, you'll be bringing in a great harvest of peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, whatever it is you're growing, and then you can grow because plants help us grow.